Hey guys, coming to you again. I know it's very, very dark out here. You can see I'm out on a walk, almost pitch black. That's because I work the night shift. So this is the time I get the break away during my lunch, and go out on a walk. But I figured I'd go ahead and cut this next video in the series of Tulip. And I think we've already covered the T, the U, the L. The next doctrine that the Calvinists hinge their salvation on is the doctrine of irresistible grace. Forgive me if you guys can't see me. I should be hitting some light poles every 20, 30 feet. But so irresistible grace is a doctrine. It teaches that the people for whom Jesus Christ died, he's going to draw, through God's grace, and that grace cannot be resisted. And, like I said in all the other videos, these doctrines hang on one another. So if you've been paying attention, you'll be able to connect the dots, because somebody may ask the question, these elect people who are unconditionally chosen by God before the world began, how do they come to Christ? And the Calvinists cannot answer that they seek after him. That's something they can't answer, even though the scriptures actually do say that that's what happens. The Calvinists can't answer that because they believe that man is totally depraved. So this doctrine of irresistible grace was brought into the fold to, give a quick and lazy answer to that question. Well, God is going to draw them no matter what. If they come to God, he's going to draw them. It's going to be because he drew them, and they could not resist his drawing. They discount scriptures that actually contradict that, where people do not only pervert the grace of God, they deny the grace of God. They choose not to hear his word. He reaches out his hands to them, and they turn away. They deny any text that imply anything that says that God is reaching out to man and man is rejecting. In the Calvinist doctrine, that is impossible, because if God reaches out for you, he's going to grab you and he's going to pull you to himself. You can go kicking and screaming. His grace is irresistible. And the reason this doctrine is so dangerous is because these Calvinists preach to people things that Christ preached, such as repent. Like when you hear a Calvinist say repent and turn to the Lord, you know that in their heart of hearts, they do not really believe in any of this stuff. Once a Calvinist tells someone to turn to the Lord and seek the Lord while he may be found, any of that, they're showing their inconsistency in their doctrine. Because if a Calvinist was consistent, they would say, go home and sit down and wait for God to irresistibly draw you to himself. If he doesn't draw you to himself, you are not the elect. And this is why I call the doctrine of Calvinism a very, very lazy doctrine. It's one of the laziest things I think I've ever read. When you read John Calvin and you read people who followed him, you see some of the laziest scholarship. I'm not the greatest scholar in the world, but when I'm reading this, I feel like it's not even on the elementary level of scholarship. As far as biblical doctrine goes, they may have gotten degrees in languages, which John Calvin didn't. They may have gotten degrees in other things, but when it comes to actually sitting down and exegeting the scriptures, this is a lazy job. They do a very lazy job. And if you ever sit and study with the Calvinists, you'll understand how lazy they are. Just go through the Bible with them. And you'll understand anything that forces them to critically think about what they believe, it bothers them to the point of frustration. I've seen it myself. I had a long and drawn out conversation with a guy I met. It was soon after I had come to the faith. He was a Calvinist, and actually the doctrine that we were discussing initially was irresistible grace. He was a Calvinist. He used to make YouTube videos. I was making YouTube videos, and he challenged me to a debate. And the debate turned into more of a discussion, because I think he felt like, because I told him how long I had been in the faith, he felt like he was going to bully me in the debate. But once we got on Skype and started having the discussion, he's like, man, I actually like you, man. Let's just talk. You know, and I've gotten that many times with people who, let's debate. And then we start, you know, talking about the debate, and they're like, hey, let's just talk. You know, and I understand why that happens. But we were talking about irresistible grace, and he was using all of these big words. And I told him at the time, hey, man, I'm not really an educated guy. I haven't been to school. You know, so if you can dumb this down for me, you know, can you explain to me, you know, or answer these questions that I'm asking you in a way that anybody could understand? And the conversation took 3 to 4 hours initially, because he spent a lot of time trying to finagle his way out of things. But my main question to him was, if God irresistibly draws you, why are you preaching the gospel as you do? Because he preached it, like I said before. He would actually preach things that Jesus and John, you know, John the Baptist and Jesus' apostles preach. So how can you do that when you believe that the only way people are saved is by God irresistibly drawing them and choosing them? And this was his answer. Well, we Calvinists believe we're supposed to be faithful to God no matter if we know who's elect or not. He gave us a command to go out and preach the gospel, so that's what we do. Now, if you're not a Calvinist who's trying to defend Calvinism, you understand that's a cop-out answer. That's a cop-out, because if you went out preaching what you actually believe, you know people would not follow you. People would not listen to your word. If you went out preaching Calvinism, you know, in its entirety, you actually told people what you actually believe behind closed doors, nobody would even listen to you for a second. But they take the truth out and preach it in the streets, or, you know, sometimes they'll preach it from the pulpits and contradict later in the message. And you won't understand exactly what they're teaching until sometimes weeks or months later, when they've already gotten you to join their organization or what have you. But this doctrine of irresistible grace is one of those where you're just left asking, okay, why then? Why the Great Commission? Right? And another aspect of it is, when people turn away from, so they guarantee people that they would not come to the Lord unless God irresistibly draws them. Check. So these people, quote unquote, in their opinion, come to the Lord. And then maybe months, years later, these people turn away from the Lord. Do not fear. The Calvinist has an answer for you. Those people were never actually drawn. Right? They were not irresistibly drawn. After they already assured them that they were, because if they weren't drawn, there's no way you could have come to agree with me on this. God had to have drawn you. You have to be one of his elect to agree with Calvinism. But when they ceased to believe in Calvinism, that proves they were never drawn in the first place. And this is going to go into the next point of perseverance of the saints. They use the same tactics and the same arguments. That's what the Calvinists do. And you see the circular reasoning. You see the circular reasoning there. If you leave me, that proves you never came in the first place. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Hopefully I'll be able to record the perseverance of the saints video under some good lighting. I think you guys have gotten flashes of my face. I think I can see me a little. But I hope my soothing voice makes up for the lack of video quality. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll holler at you later. God bless.